The race is on for the presidency, and Republicans have a big roadblock: the issue of unity.
Former President Trump currently dominates the Republican Party, while several potential candidates are nipping at his heels. CBN's chief political analyst David Brody has the story.
The final battle, that's the term Donald Trump is using for this upcoming 2024 presidential race.
This is the final battle. They know it, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. This is it.
But what about the battle inside the Republican Party? Where is it heading exactly? Trump is the leader of the GOP, but national polling shows only 42% of Republicans identify as MAGA Republicans. 58% say they aren't. While there seems to be general agreement on the social issues, there's no doubt, however, that the GOP is more populist under Trump. In his new book, Superpower in Peril, former Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dave McCormick argues it's time to think differently about the future of the party.
I make the case for embracing a number of those populist frustrations with policies that rely on traditional conservative principles but go a step further. Because the old way of thinking about it as a conservative just isn't solving the problems of America, and we need to deal with that.
McCormick has a blueprint to do just that, including a big focus on confronting China. But the schism in the GOP is truly revealed over the war in Ukraine. At the recent CPAC conference, nearly 80% of GOP attendees said they disapprove of the U.S. giving billions of dollars in aid to help Ukraine. And likely presidential contender Ron DeSantis got caught up in it when he first sided with MAGA, saying, quote, "While the U.S. has many vital national interests, becoming further entangled in a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia is not one of them." Days later, after being criticized by traditional Republicans, he came out for war crimes against Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Would you support that?
I mean, I think he is a war criminal.
And so that, in a nutshell, is the conundrum. The GOP is a party that's split. It's something former Vice President Mike Pence and I discussed recently.
The modern Republican Party was I think, minted around the presidency of Ronald Reagan, but it was advanced by the two Bush presidencies. And then I think that movement was added to in significant ways by Donald Trump.
Pence points out that Trump's views on trade, China, foreign policy, and more have given the party a more populist feel, and he argues that's actually good.
More hardworking Americans, more blue-collar Americans, more African Americans and Hispanic Americans than in recent history voted for Republican candidates up and down the line. And I think that's because we were the party that was articulating that broad, conservative, traditional American agenda, and that's the pathway for the future.
Ultimately, for the GOP to be successful as a political party, Dave McCormick says they'll have to apply an age-old principle.
We have, as conservatives, we agree on 80% of things. And we spend the majority of our time talking about the 20% that we disagree with. And so one of the things I argue for, the plea is, listen, let's rally around the 80% that we agree on. Let's embrace candidates in the primaries that can win primaries and general elections while staying true to conservatism, the movement conservatism, and let's go change the direction of the country.
David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Well, it's going to be tough for Republicans to come together. It seems like a party divided, but my bigger concern is we're a nation divided. And when you look at surveys that show there's a percentage of Democrats that think it's okay to kill Republicans and a percentage of Republicans that think it's okay to kill Democrats, and then that gets expressed on a baseball diamond where it's okay for a shooter to come in and, you know, I'm looking for Republicans to kill. You look at these things, that tears a nation apart. That is not, it literally goes at the core of who we are. And if we no longer trust our elections, we no longer trust the other party, and we can't ever come together to actually govern, well, then we're a nation divided. And the Bible is quite specific. A house divided cannot stand. Let's pray for unity, and let's pray that we can come together and see the person on the other side of the aisle as not an enemy, but they just have a different view. And how can we come together and govern ourselves? Because that's in the long-term interest of everyone living in America.